Hello, everyone. This is Rabbi Ari Sachs of Congregation Beth Mordechai coming to you with today's video counting of the Omer, up to day number 31, known as Tiferet sheb'Hod, as harmony within splendor, and we'll get to today's teaching from Rabbi Min Kantrowitz's book on counting the Omer. Picture yourself sitting in a warm room, looking out at a spectacular snowfall. As the flakes land on the window in front of you, imagine they are moving in time to their own rhythm, a choreographed sprinkling of light and ice, dancing to the musical score of that particular storm. Each individual snowflake is unique, a variation on a symmetrical structure of simple chemical composition of oxygen and hydrogen, H2O. Yet it is the multitude of individual small bits of beauty that are necessary to produce overall splendor. This is one way to think of how Tiferet operates within Hod. It's a very poetic way of describing, I think, what can be one of the most splendid teachings that we have of the Omer, and especially this particular day. That when we have a recognition that each thing we encounter in life, or each person that we encounter in life, or in this case, each snowflake, is extremely unique, is an extremely unique creation. That is part of the understanding of Hod. That's a part of understanding of splendor. That each one of us is created in some kind of B'Tselem Elohim, and that when we recognize how each creature is unique, that we can see how that splendid creation is a part of the overall creation, and to really take advantage of that opportunity to recognize the beauty of this one aspect of creation. But we don't really get to see the beauty of that individual piece of creation unless we see it as part of a greater whole. And that greater whole is not necessarily that it is a part of something that's exactly the same. Meaning we're not talking about a marching of the infantry, of soldiers, row by row, who look exactly the same, moving in tune with one another, so that you can't pick out the differences among them, but rather that it is this kind of synchronicity of action within the difference of each individual aspect of creation, so that the particular aspects of whether it is our own lives, the way in which we interact with one another, of seeing in this example of the snowflakes sort of dancing out in the wind, that each one acts independently. Each one is independent of one another, but that there is this incredible beauty that exists when you take a step back and look at each individual piece of creation and see it interacting with one another, of growing with one another, of playing, of dancing with one another. And that in recognizing how each aspect of creation is unique, that once they act within harmony with one another, that's the aspect of Tiferet. The harmony is in the dancing of each aspect of life of creation, and that it is taking your own splendid ability and really really using that ability to be in relationship, to be in a dance with other splendid aspects of creation. And it is out of that dance that a harmony is created by the fact that these two things are interacting positively with one another, and that in that act of acting positively with one another, you can take a step back and look at the whole and say just how much more splendid, just how much more of a sense of Hod is there when seeing all of these different splendid creations acting together out of their own uniqueness. And I think we can see that especially in nature when it comes to whether it's in snowflakes or whether it's in weather, and of how the weather patterns act around us, in our own relationships with one another, that when we are having a nice give and take, and we're talking with one another and we're learning from one another, and even when we're disagreeing with one another, that there can be this harmony that exists in that back and forth, and when we take a step back, we just recognize how incredibly splendid it is. That I think is at the core of what this day is all about. In order to really take that moment to appreciate not only the incredible, splendid nature of each individual creature, of each individual aspect of creation, but in the interaction within all aspects of creation with one another, to create this synchronous, this harmonious dance, like the snowflakes on the window. And as such, with that kavanah, with that intention in mind, we're now going to turn to the actual counting of this day of the Omer, this day of harmony within splendor. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat haomer. We praise you, Adonai our God, Master of time and space, whose commandments add holiness to our lives, who commanded us to count the Omer. Hayom echad ushloshim yom shehem arba'a shavuot ushlosha yamim laomer. Today is day number 31 of the Omer. And with that, I want to thank you for joining for today's teaching. Tomorrow's teaching will actually be taking place tonight during Friday night services at an early special time of 6:30 p.m. here at Congregation Beth Mordechai at 224 High Street in Perth Amboy. We'd love for everyone to join us, and we have a wonderful service planned in addition to being able to count the next day of the Omer. And with that, we'll be back with the video counting the following day. Take care and all the best. Bye-bye.